verse number 21. Teen Rup Shri Krishna ko Ved Vyas Bataya Radhe Radhe.
Teen Rup Shri Krishna ko Ved Vyas Bataya Radhe Radhe.
Brahma aur Paramatma Aru Bhagavan kahaya Radhe Radhe.
Brahma aur Paramatma Aru Bhagavan kahaya Radhe Radhe.
The goal of this family camp is to help us move ahead in our devotion and to absorb our minds in God. So the more we understand God, the more our love for Him will increase. As you all have heard from me over and over again, when you come to know the value of an object is so much, your love for it increases to the same extent. So if we wish to move ahead in our devotion, we must also take the Tattva Gyan, scriptural knowledge, very seriously. Very often, aspirants, they are only inclined to bhajan and they consider lectures to be frivolous. However, that's not the case. Kripaluji Maharaj used to say again and again that the more you truly understand Tattva Gyan, the more you will move ahead on this path. So this is a beautiful verse to start with. You see, the scriptural knowledge is vast and immense. To explain that simply is a tremendous art. Kripaluji Maharaj has distilled from the whole scriptural knowledge these 100 verses in which he has expressed the philosophy of divine love. And he calls it Bhakti Shatak, or 100 verses, 100 aphorisms on bhakti. We are starting with the 21st in this retreat, and it's a tremendous launching point. He says here that the Supreme Lord has got three forms: Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, as explained by Ved Vyas. Why Ved Vyas? Because in the Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran, Ved Vyas has written a verse. I believe it is the first canto, 2nd chapter, 11th verse. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. He says the tattvajnas, the knowers of spiritual truths, have explained that the one supreme divine entity without a second, there is one supreme divine entity. Ekameva dvitiyam brahma, ekam satvipra bahudha vadanti, ekam santam bahudha kalpayanti. That supreme divine entity manifests in this world in three forms: Brahma, which in English we express as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So what is Brahman? Brahma is that aspect of God which is all pervading. We all in our Hindu philosophy accept that God is everywhere. So, where does God reside? There was one very famous Urdu poet in India, Mirza Ghalib. He was also a drunkard. He wrote, "Peene de saki masjid mein sharab, ya wo jagah bata jahan khuda na ho." He said, "Oh bartender, please let me drink in the masjid. Otherwise, tell me one place where God is not." So after Ghalib, the next great Urdu poet in India was Allama Iqbal. He responded, although many decades had gone by, he responded to Ghalib's verse. He said, "Masjid खुदा का घर है, पीने की जगह नहीं. काफिर के दिल में जा, वहाँ खुदा नहीं." He said that masjid is a house of God. It is not a place to drink. Go to the heart of the kafir, the non-believer. You will find there is no God there. So his question was, show me one place where there is no God. Now he responded that God is in the masjid. It's a place of the Allah, but in the heart of the kafir there is no Allah. After Allama Iqbal came Faraz. He completed the sequel. He responded to Allama Iqbal. He said, "काफिर के दिल से आया हूँ, मैं यह देख कर फराज." काफिर के दिल से आया हूँ, मैं यह देख कर फराज. खुदा वहाँ मौजूद है, मगर उसे पता नहीं. I have come from the heart of the non-believer and seen that Khuda is there as well, but he doesn't know it. That is the only difference. So, God is everywhere. That all-pervading aspect of God is Brahman. And then the second aspect of God is his localized aspect, where he resides in everybody's hearts, noting their karmas, keeping an account, giving the results. So this localized presence of the Lord in everybody's heart, this is called Paramatma. He is the same Brahman, but he is discharging a different function. And the third is when the Lord descends as an avatar in his personal form and manifests divine pastimes. So this avatari form of God, the personal form of God, is called Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is the same as Paramatma and Brahman, but more Shaktis are manifesting in that form. This Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. If we can understand these three different aspects of God, we will realize the unity in the apparently different forms of worship and traditions of worship that are prevalent around the world. You have some people who worship God as light. You have yogis who worship God within. And you have devotees who worship the avatar. And everybody seems to say that I am right and everybody else is wrong. So there is so much of conflict and strife that goes on. Now Vedavyas says that all these three are right. It is said the sign of a refined intellect is that it can hold apparently contradictory viewpoints at the same time. So these are contradictory viewpoints. God is everywhere, He's in our heart, He takes the avatar. The Ved Vyas says, you understand God in this perspective, then you will realize that the Jnanis are also worshipping the same God, the yogis are also worshipping the same God, and the devotees of Ram and Krishna are also worshipping the same God. So, how do you realize the distinction between these? It is like this. Supposing you were standing on a railway track and a train was coming from far at night time. You see the train and it seems like a light is approaching. That huge mass of tens of thousands of tons of steel and iron seems like a light. And when the train comes closer, at that time you see, oh, there's a shimmering form attached to it. Finally, when the train comes and stands on the platform, then you say, oh, this is the Coromandel Express. Now I can see S1, S2, A1, A2. So the train, when viewed from far, was like a light. When viewed from closer, it had a shimmering form. And when it came and stood there, you could see it as it was. Similarly, when you realize God from far, He seems like just a light. And you realize Him from closer, you realize that He's discharging so many functions sitting within us. He's the maintainer of the universe. So He's got His own office work that He is doing, sitting in everybody's hearts. Because He has to note the karmas, He has to keep an account, He has to give the results at the proper time. And He does this without any paperwork. He's got a paperless office in there. But then, in order to share loving pastimes with His devotees, He also manifests in His personal form.
Hari Guru Bhajanit Govind Radhe Bhavanish Kam Ananya Banade.
कैसे चले